Hello, everyone, and welcome to Keeping the Faith podcast. This is our fourth episode. I'm your host, Helen Blashars, and I'm here with the beautiful Faith Green, Faith Brown. And we're here to talk about grief as we have done in the first three podcasts. Each podcast is different, so we try to talk about something that'll help you through the grieving process. I'm actually going through the grieving process right now, so this is a good time for me to do this. I lost my stepmom, and so been a tragedy for me and my family. So even someone as a mid end of life midwife, I still have to go through this process. So nobody's exempt. It doesn't matter if you're a doctor, funeral director, whatever. Everyone goes through the process. So these are ways you can kind of deal with grief positively and properly to help you get to a better place, hopefully. We know you can't replace your loved ones, but at least we can learn to kind of exist too. We can learn how to live, right? That's probably a good way to
Yeah,
put it.
exactly.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about treatment today. I just like to give a little disclaimer. We are not medical doctors, nor are we trying to attempt to give any medical advice. This is just our own experiences and what has worked for us. So you can take that for what it's worth. We also ask that you be respectful of us and each other. I know this is social media, but this is a very sensitive space here. And this is a space where people need to feel safe. They need to feel love. A lot of people are very vulnerable that are going through grief, and I ask that you respect that. So with that being said, we've got some good things we were talking about. Before we started, because before we get on the podcast, me and Faith just have a talk, about what we're going to talk about and things. And I was talking about nightmares because I know when you've dealt with tragedies and things of that sort, you can have nightmares. Now, Faith, tell us a little bit about that, because after your tragedy and your trauma, I'm sure you've had some things you probably can't even remember and recall, but just kind of take us through some of the situations that you had and what you did to kind of get you through that.
Well, I know that the first year was really bad. Well, the first 2 years were really bad. I would have nightmares, wake up in sweats, like somebody threw buckets of water on me, so I would have to change my clothes, change the sheets, constantly being triggered by things that I watched. A lot of times when that would happen, I would hide in the closet with the dog, things like that. Scared to be by myself, especially at nighttime.
Yeah, I'm
Yes.
sure how long did that last?
Um, that lasted for probably about a year and a half, but the triggers lasted a little bit longer. So it was a lot of things I couldn't watch on TV. Certain gunshots, it wouldn't be every gunshot that I would hear in a movie. Certain gunshot sounds would set me off where I'm freaking out. I'm in the closet or I hide in the bathroom.
Right.
I couldn't watch.
What did the healthcare professional, I'm sorry, I was just
Oh.
wanting to get on that, because like when you talk to, doctors about
Mhm.
your triggers and things, did they give you any advice to help you in that moment?
In the beginning, I'm sure they probably did, but I was so messed up. Even though I was still going to counseling, a lot of things were in one ear, out the other. I was there, but wasn't there. If that makes sense, I was more just like a zombie.
Yes.
I just continued to go, and then it was a process, and then
Yeah.
then things started sinking in, and things started coming back to my memory, so that I could really expound on it and let my therapist know what's really going on with me. Some things I was able to talk about, other things I just was there.
Yeah. Yeah. I get that. And you said, and one thing that stood out was when you say you were like a zombie. Now, was that because of the medication that they gave you, or just
No,
um
and I think it was a combination, but just in general, because I had a friend, she said it was like I was there but it was just like I was just a shell, but I wasn't really there.
Like
That didn't matter if,
soulless. Yeah.
yeah, it didn't matter if I took the medication or not. It was just a big difference in me.
Mhm. Mhm. And that probably was kinda like a defense mechanism too, because you really didn't know how to process everything, so you just had to
Right.
shut
And
down.
that's just your brain protecting yourself. So for someone else it could be something different.
Mhm. Yeah. Wow. Okay, so I'm sure you, like, tried hard not to think about what happened and kinda, like, maybe, like, black out the past. And I know I've been told that you gotta kind of process it. So
Mhm.
how did that work for you, or how did you deal with that? You just kinda, like, just didn't talk about it probably for a while, or it was probably a period, I remember we talked about it, where you didn't really wanna.
Yeah, at times I probably didn't want to talk about it, and then other times with probably people like really close to me, I would talk about it. Also, what one of my psychiatrists said that I did, what my brain was doing was I would compartmentalize. So
Mhm,
it's almost like you know you're there and it happened, but it's like your brain separates. So a
mhm.
lot of times when I think about the happy times at my old house, I don't even. It's like my brain doesn't even associate with the murders and the gruesomeness that happened
Yeah.
there. It's almost like it happened somewhere else.
Wow, that's amazing. So you,
Mm.
like, kinda compartmentalize it, you know?
Yeah. So it's not. I don't have control over it. It's just what your brain does to protect
Mhm,
itself. I don't know if my brain is ever going to get to a place where and put it together. I mean, I know physically what happened. I was there. It
mm.
just, you know, it
Yeah,
just,
that's how you get through it. That's probably,
yeah,
to be honest, how you've gotten this far, you know?
yeah,
I know at first you were, like, constantly on guard and, like, watchful and mindful of everything, and probably even startled by stuff like you said with the triggers.
hmm
Is that something, well, it's probably not as intense, but I'm sure it's something you still have to deal with?
it's still some things. I'm because when you have trauma, it affects your brain almost as if they compare it to like Alzheimer's or like dementia. So it's like
Mhm.
you have to retrain your brain.
Mm.
This is like losing parts of your memory, focusing, all of that's affected. So, things are so different, as far as memory. I used to remember like walking in the house, remember everything.
Mhm.
Now it's just okay. I might remember some things, and it's a little distorted or misconstrued. So it's a process, especially when I'm looking for things. It could be right there. I can't
Mhm.
see it, so sometimes I have to call one of my friends, like, I need you to come help me," So it's just
Mhm.
take a deep breath, come back to it. So you just gotta have grace with yourself. You gotta have
Right.
patience with yourself.
Yes, yes, yes. And everybody, I hope everybody's listening to that. Patience important, especially when loved ones are grieving. You have to,
Right.
I had to read, perfect example, I had to read the obituary today. And when I got to my nephew's name, I said it wrong and I just totally cracked and started crying. It was just the sight of his name that triggered something in me. And, I just cried. So sometimes you just gotta just, understand that people are gonna have different emotions. Some people cry, some
Right.
people scream. Whatever it is, it's important that you get that out. Um, so I know that you kind of went through a lot of, like, feeling guilty and I don't know what, maybe blaming yourself or thinking maybe what you could have did differently. That kind of, what
Mhm.
could have, if I would have, so if you
Well,
give, that's a part of grief. One of the blaming,
yeah, it
like the
it
second.
is. It is a part of grief. And the one thing is, like my mom and my sister told me, there is nothing more else that I could do for my children. As a parent, I felt
Absolutely.
like I felt as like as a parent, oh, I could have did more. I went through that with with my children, and they were like, "Oh no, you did so much." They were like, they couldn't even do half of the things that I were doing for my children. One day, I was even thinking about it. I started getting a headache. I was like, "Oh Lord," I'm like, I don't even like if I was to start over now. I don't think I would be able to do that. It was just so much to
Right.
do, like the come and go and run and take them, to this event or the
Right.
extracurricular activities. But even with the tragedy itself, even though there was nothing that I literally could not do, but as a parent, because you want to always protect your children, that's a natural feeling to have. And then the thing is, when you're in a domestic situation, what do you really do?
Mm.
And at
Yeah.
that time, I didn't know until after the fact. When you're preparing to leave, that's a dangerous time because you don't know what the other person is thinking or
Mhm.
any of that. I thought I was gonna have enough time to save money and move,
Mhm.
because he wasn't displaying. I
Right.
mean, he was
Right.
displaying signs, but he wasn't, walking around beating me, that type of thing. It was just the mental verbal. So I felt like we had a little bit more time, maybe another week or two, then we can leave.
Mhm. Mhm. Right. But you never, even if you did think something bad, you never could have imagined
No, I never
being
thought
that.
anything
Yeah,
like that.
exactly. Now, I know that at first you might have expressed before some feelings of numbness, and I'm going to ask you about compassion because I know it's hard to go from that period of numbness to having compassion for others or even yourself, for that matter, because you got to have compassion because you are the survivor of this tragedy,
Mhm.
and so how have you dealt with that, to have compassion for others? Because sometimes it can seem like, and I even feel like this, Faith, as your friend, like I'll feel like I don't want to even put that on her. Sometimes I, like when I was telling mom, I didn't tell you about my stepmom, and I was like, why am I not telling her? And I just
Mhm.
sent you a text and told you what I was going through, because I always feel like I got to be doing stuff for everybody
Right.
else.
And that's what I tell, like I want to tell you and my friends, like I don't want you guys to feel like you have to tiptoe around me. Because if something's bothering me, I'll just tell you like, oh, okay, I can't handle that.
Right.
So I think that's how I'm able to have compassion. So even though this happened to me, in the midst of it, I still was able to be loving and hugging to others, cautious to lurkers and things like that. But pretty much my inner circle, my family members, although I did go through just being angry, where
Hmm.
certain family members I wasn't dealing with, and it's okay because the thing is, when you go through trauma, it brings up other things, childhood issues, things that you have gone through, and you feel like you can't deal with that person, even if it's your parents, because that's what I was going through. It's all right. And I love how Oprah had put this, well, how she said this thing like sometimes you have to divorce your family and friends.
Yeah.
And I believe in that because the
Hmm.
thing is, if certain individuals are doing things or have done things to hurt you,
Unhealthy.
and why not, and it's unhealthy, why not keep them at arm's length? Sometimes you just have to, especially if you already have had conversations and things like that, then you have to do what's best for you by putting up boundaries. And that's something that I never really did as far as the boundaries. I always did for everybody else. And that wasn't being done for me. And a relationship is always supposed to be reciprocal, whether it's friendship, family,
Hmm.
cousins, uncles, aunts, whatever.
Yeah. That's good to know too, because I need to know that, because I was like, you know what, it's not. I'm just not her friend. She's my friend too. So if I need you to pray for my family because we're going through something, I should be able to tell you regardless of how bad it is. And I'm
Hmm.
glad, because I at first I would have never said nothing. I would have been like, I'm not bringing that to her. But
Hmm.
if you really are my friend, I should bring you the good, bad, and the ugly, I guess.
Right, right. Now, if
So
it was like
I'm
if
learning
it
it.
was like the first year, I probably would have been like, ugh, like I probably wouldn't have been able to handle. But I'm so much further, past that. So And there's things that I can handle a lot more than what I couldn't handle in that first year.
Right, right, right. That's wow. It's amazing. Now, I know that we talk about trying to bring something good from this bad situation. In your opinion, what are some of the good things that have happened despite this tragedy?
The good thing I can say is I meet people that know my children, always give me a good report about them, tell me how good they are. That just warms my soul, warms my heart. Sometimes I just want to cry because you never know how your children are going to be when they're not when they're not around you. And I get
Mhm.
that from random people. That makes me feel so good. And that was one thing my ex-husband tried to do. He always tried to say, like, try to make them like they were bad, or, just things like that, which I already knew wasn't their
Right.
demeanor.
Mhm.
So, but it just makes me feel good, and that I did a good job with them, especially as a single parent, and that's a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
And the other thing is when I'm talking with people, I still talk about them like they're here,
Yep.
especially
I love
if
that.
they're talking about certain situations. I give my input. Like one lady I met a couple weeks ago, we ended up talking about what happened because I just told them I still talk about them because I still have the experience. I did raise my children. And the other thing is I've been taking care of kids since I was like 9 years old by being a young
Right.
aunt and by my mom having her own daycare. So I do know a lot about children. And I have so many good memories of them. I enjoyed them. I had so much fun with them. The good times, the bad times, I enjoyed it all. So I keep their pictures out,
Yes.
and everything I do now is in honor of them
Right.
and to help other women and young girls. So that's what I do.
So I know we were talking about treatment and stuff like that for PTSD. And initially, when you suffer from PTSD, there's stages too. When you
Mm.
first have that trauma, when you're given probably antidepressants, they probably had you on everything. I can
They
imagine.
did. I was on like I think at one time I was on 6 different medications. Um it does,
Help
like,
you initially.
how. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I was gonna say like how some of the soldiers they hallucinate. Like I actually was at one time hallucinating. 'Cause I used to hear voices that tell me I need to. It was crazy what I was going through. It used to tell me I need to break my mom's bathroom door, and I would just go crazy, be trying to break the door, like, or I'd be thinking I'm hearing something downstairs dragging, and like I'll be getting freaked out. Like it was a lot of different things, and nightmares. And then
Mm,
then when I realized with the Xanax makes it will make you sleepy too, but it make you high too. And
mhm,
then when I realized what it was doing to me and the effect that it was having when I wouldn't, like, if I didn't take it, it made me break out in a sweat. There's nothing you can do about it. I went outside in the middle of
mm,
winter, flip flops, leggings, like a little strappy t-shirt. You can't stop the sweats at all. There's nothing you can
mm,
do about it. So I I I kind of realized at that time, but then later, I don't remember how much time went by, but it happened again, and I was like, oh no, I was like, I'm not going through this again, and I just kicked it and stopped. I was like, I'm not gonna take no more Xanax. The last time I
mhm.
ran out, I didn't take no more. I had the sweats and stuff like that, and I told them I don't want no more Xanax.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, some of those drugs affect people differently, and
Mm,
maybe they're supposed to help you during the initial trauma
mhm.
to get you to a certain stage. And I'm not a doctor, so I'm just saying
No, no,
the
and
people
it
I
and it
know.
is. It
Yeah.
is. And the other thing too, they were giving me medication that was supposed to be for bipolar patients, for anxiety too. So I don't even remember what the side effects was. So just
Right.
imagine taking all these different things and having side effects. So it was making me loopy.
Yeah,
and then I was drinking on top of that. So yeah, I was really crazy.
yeah. Well, thank God he kinda covered you during that time, so at least
Yeah.
for you to get
Yeah,
better
he did.
and
He did.
realize what was going on, because there's people out
Mhm.
there, they're hurting, and maybe this medication might make them not hurt,
Mhm.
but the thing that I know for sure is that you're gonna have to face those feelings eventually.
Yeah, you do. You do. And that was something that I wasn't used to doing, dealing with my feelings. But once I got to the place where I guess I was ready
Yeah.
because I was losing so much weight. I was looking dark. I remember having dark marks and I remember hearing this voice saying to me, "Remember you said you didn't want to stay stuck." So I had to like when I tell people I said I had to find a reason to live, not suicide, but to live mentally, physically every day because people walk around here dead all day, every day.
All
So
day.
I had to fight to live because I wanted to die every day. I didn't want to wake up. I used to be very angry and wake up like, dang, I'm still here. I just wanted to die in my sleep.
Wow.
Yeah, but once I came to grip that I'm still gonna be here, I'm gonna be here and I got a purpose. I
Yeah.
didn't want it this way, but I was very angry about it. But now, I'm gonna do what I need to do because that's it's part of my calling.
And you know what? That's what I was gonna ask you too. Like, what do you see in your future? And because it's so much life for you after this. It's so much purpose. So what do
Mhm.
you see?
I'm gonna continue doing what I'm doing, and hopefully, I reach a bigger platform of people. And it doesn't have to just be about domestic violence. I do because I love getting up in front of people speaking. I love being a motivational speaker. I love that. I enjoy that. I like people to be engaged. I like to be an encourager because somebody encouraged me. Multiple people have encouraged me. So I want to be able to give back and be able to help at least one person or multiple people.
Not to get off subject, but remember the Mother's Day event. That speaker, the lady, I forget her
Is
name.
it the poet?
Yeah, the poet. Oh, she
Hmm.
was awesome.
Yeah, she
Yeah,
is.
she
She
was
is
really a beautiful lady. Yeah, she was. I mean, oh my God, she was great. And the first lady, all of them were. But
Yeah, and
I
she's
really,
really cool too, like down to earth. Like you got a chance to
yes,
like really just talk because that was she was there last year too.
yes, that's
She's
what I
really
heard.
awesome. She's a real cool person.
Yeah, yeah. But she really just had everybody. And the fact she ain't need no microphone in that big old place, she just had a big
Mhm.
presence, and you know what I mean? And I just know that God has plans for you. And that's why I continue to do this. If there's anybody out there that wants to help the podcast and, publish it for us, and we can just send you the link and you can help us. If you want to do an apprenticeship or something like that, if you're into social media management or anything,
Mm.
we love you to help us. We would
Yeah.
need that. And we're also looking for like an entry video for keeping the faith. We got like 6 more episodes to go, and then we could be syndicated, right?
Mhm.
We're
Helen
at
is good
10.
with all the technical and technology stuff. So
Right, right. I'm trying to. I've been learning it. I posted the podcast, and but I would like some help from a real professional. But I've
Mhm.
been to YouTube University,
Yeah, yeah.
and that's how I learn. But it's just a blessing, and I just thank God for this time where we can talk about this because it's so important, and a lot of people
Mhm.
they don't know how to properly grieve.
Right,
They grieve, but they don't know how to properly grieve. And
right.
this is proper grieving, talking about what your issues are, talking about what bothers you, talking about waking
Mhm.
up with a pool full of sweat and getting through those things so that if
Mhm.
somebody is watching this and they having an issue and they taking multiple drugs and one of them is Xanax, maybe they can at least consider that might be. and you could talk to your doctor. So you never
Mhm.
know why God led you to listen here today, but it's important that we talk about these things.
Mhm.
And then there's a big stereotype too, especially in the African American community about mental health and mental health medications. And not always is the medication a bad thing. It's just to get you to a better place. Some people
Right.
are actively suicidal. Some people
Mhm.
are, just it's so hard. And I don't know if you've ever been through that, Faith, but I'm sure when you went through it, you wished. I remember you saying you wished that you hadn't lived for your children.
Mhm.
Or you would have given up your own life for them in a minute. So I know that you had probably some regret with that, and it might have even crossed your mind for a millisecond. But sometimes that medication can help numb you to get
Mhm.
you a little bit more, so some time can pass.
Yeah.
Because you know how sometimes they have to put you in a coma to heal
Right.
your body.
Right.
That's
Yeah,
how
and
I
and you
feel.
and you need that because you won't be able to take everything at one time because it'd be so harmful, so hurtful. The pain will be too great that you just won't. It'd just be so overwhelming.
And then another thing, and you might have experienced this too, all of my sorries, that hurt even more. And when people coming up to you, I'm so
Yeah.
sorry. And sometimes, I mean, this week at work, I went into work because I have to work when I go through a tragedy. It helps me. And
Mhm.
at the church, I work at a church, and they were just so beautiful. And everybody was like, "I'm so sorry, Helen. I'm so sorry." And every time they said, "I'm sorry," I start crying.
Yeah. And
It
then
was
and
something
then
about it.
yep. And then it feels annoying, even though but it's heartfelt, because people don't know what to say. That's one thing. Like our grief counselor told us, like people are gonna say so many different things to you, and they mean well, but sometimes it's just not the right thing to say. That's why sometimes I just nod because I remember how I felt. There was times people told me. One time, a guy told me the same week, I need to forgive my husband. I just looked at him and I thought in my head, like, if your kids wasn't in this room right now, I would just cuss you the F out right now because I don't got to do nothing.
You
Like, you
know,
know what I'm saying? And I'm like, how would you feel if you was in my shoes right now? 'Cause this just happened, and you want to come and
right.
tell me, So, but people they say all kind of stuff. Less is best. Sometimes it's not.
Yes. Yeah.
Hug, you know what I'm saying? Because the slightest anything could set somebody off when you go through grief or tragedy.
Well, look, so it's funny because me and my sister was at Sam's Club yesterday, right? And getting ready for this funeral. And this little girl had bumped her car with them Sam's Club buggies is big.
Yeah.
Little girl. And I looked back and I seen the little girl, and I know my sister, she pop off, right? And then her mom
Uh-huh.
just died. So I'm like, oh my Lord. So I said, "Oh, it's just a little baby." And I got out the car real quick. And then I said, "Oh, it's okay, baby." I said, "Well, let's just pull the buggy back a little bit so we can get out." And then the mother
Mhm,
was coming. And I told the
mhm,
mother, because she probably was like, "Who are these people talking to my kids?" They was getting in their
mhm.
car, SUV or whatever. I told the mother, I said, our mom just passed away the other day, and it's kind of tough. And then I said, but she could use a hug from one of your little girls. And she said, "Oh." And so we turned a bad situation where she was about to be mad. And the little girls hugged
Mhm.
her, and the mom hugged me, and we was just in the Sam's Club
Yeah,
parking lot. And so you never know what people's going through. That's a perfect example. It could have
you're
been
right.
like, "What is going on?" And what it just popped up because that's how
Mhm,
she is. But I
mhm.
jumped out and I was like, "Oh no, we gonna we gonna put some Lord in this. We don't want no
Right.
confusion."
Mhm.
So yeah, you
Right.
just be patient out there, people. If you see somebody looking angry, they probably are. So just
Yeah.
understand that you don't know what they're going through and try to
Right.
have some
Exactly.
grace. You know,
Right.
yes. Okay, so how long did you know on your own time when you thought it was time to get off of medication, or did you discuss it with your doctor, or how did you handle it?
Mhm. I just quit taking the Xanax. I just said I'm not taking that because I didn't like how
Mhm.
it made me feel, what I went through. I still take sleeping medication. I don't take it all the time because I still have trouble
Yeah.
sleeping. I still have an anxiety medicine, which is non-habit forming.
Mhm.
I still take
Wow.
that sometimes. Even if I don't take it, I just keep it with me just as
Right.
a safety mechanism because I get anxiety now sometimes when I just
Yeah. Mhm.
go out in public. Whereas before that never used to happen. Sometimes I can be going to a birthday party or I don't, anything. And then that day comes, I just get like, ooh. And sometimes I don't even want to leave the house. So I still go through little things like that. So sometimes I
Yeah.
just have to push through it. But if I feel too bad, I'm like, nope, it's okay. I can take a day off. I don't gotta go.
Right. Right. As long as you got that person or them people that'll say, come out the house, let's do something, and they know that you in that funk, but they know
Oh yeah,
that
yep. Yeah, one person, I talk about Kelly a lot. She
your
knows,
best friend. Yeah.
yeah, she knows pretty much. We've been friends for such a long time, so she knows if I'm going through something, and because I was asking her a little, well, how do you know? Because sometimes she knows before I know. I'm like, I'm okay. And she was like, no, you're not. I'm like, girl, bye. Leave me alone. She's like
Mhm.
a sister. So she
Yeah.
knows. She just said it's
Yep.
something in your voice. I can't explain it. Your voice just sounds different. Or if she don't hear from me, she'll be like, you had one more time. I was coming over there.
Right. Exactly.
So yeah. So
Wow. Wow. That's beautiful. Well, it's just as you grow in anything, I don't care whether it's a job, I don't care whether it's motherhood, being a parent,
mhm.
you learn through that experience.
Yeah.
So, from day one to almost year 8, you've had a
Mm-hmm.
lot of time to think, you've had a lot of time to grow, you had a lot of
Mm-hmm.
time to be mad, a lot of time to cry. And it's gonna continue to happen,
It
but at
does.
least you know what it looks like.
Right. And it's subsided over the years. So I hate to say it's not as bad because it's still as
I know
bad.
what you're saying. You see, yeah, I
It
know.
just you find a way to cope through it because sometimes it still feels like yesterday, but
Right, yeah.
but in a different way, which I don't really know how to explain it. But I guess I guess the best way to explain it, it feels like yesterday because they're not here. You still expect them to come through the door. Things like my older two would, by them being so much older, they would, one would be in school, the other one would be doing his business. He just started a business, and then I would still have two at home. So I still go through that loneliness, that emptiness of no one being here. When you become a mom, you're used to your children being here. So maybe it's similar in a sense of um I guess when they say like when your children are leaving a nest, but in a different sense, but this is just different, you know that you're never gonna see them again, if that
Mhm.
makes sense. Trying to,
Yes,
you
yes,
know.
yes. I was thinking about that. When it's kind of like you examine them in the present. Like you say, a lot, you say it would be two would still be at home with me. And it's
Mhm.
just, it is really precious the way you say that, because it's like almost like a placeholder in your heart.
Mhm.
Like you like know that, you kind of gauge their age of how they would be. And then one day you're gonna say they'd all be out or they'd probably be married with children. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? It's like,
Right.
it's just amazing, and
Right.
how we
The
just get
the
through it.
other day when I was leaving work, and it was a little girl I kept seeing outside in the apartment complex. And she just reminded me of my youngest daughter because she was really light skinned like her. She
Sorry
had
about
that
my
sandy
dog.
hair. Yeah.
Sorry,
And she was
a
no, it's
dog
okay.
a dog walked by. So Bingo,
Oh.
that's one of his homeboys. He ain't outside. So okay,
Okay.
okay, Bingo, stop. I edit that one.
Yeah. So it was like, and then when I looked at her, she favored her a little bit too. And then earlier in the week, when I picked
Hold
up
on,
a
wait,
young guy,
hold on one second.
okay,
Bingo, now you stop. Hush. Now you see, oh,
He's like, he trying to get in on the conversation too.
he see his friends, so he go on walks and the dogs all know each other.
Okay.
See his friend walk, he see him in out the window and he right there. And so
Mm-hmm.
he like, I want to go out with my homeboy right now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. If I let him out, then he gonna be all in our face, and I can't be bothered with that. So that's why.
Yeah.
Okay, I think he
Yeah.
good.
So what I was saying is then on another day I picked up a young guy. He was probably like 34 or something like that.
So
But
you were
I
saying
had
she
really
looked like her though.
yeah, she looked like her. She was outside playing. She was built like her. I was just like, oh, and I wasn't even sad. I was really in a good place. And then even with the guy too, um, when we were driving and talking, I was like, just his whole demeanor reminded me of my son. And I was in a really good place mentally. I didn't feel like, oh, I just want to hug you. And I didn't even feel like that or get sad. And it was just like I just enjoyed that moment, just
Yeah.
uh, it
Just
was
to
a
get
it was
this,
a it was a
yeah.
really good time that, just sitting there talking and he's talking about, just engaging in
Oh,
conversation.
so
I was
you
just like,
actually
oh
talked to him.
yeah, yeah, we were talking because I picked him up. So I picked him up from was it MGM Grand Hotel, and then he wanted to go to the outlet before he went home. So we had like about an hour drive. So we're talking about different stuff, politics and
Oh,
just different things of the world and stuff like that. But just his whole demeanor, like sounded just like my
like
son.
Chad.
Yeah,
Oh,
facial expressions, everything. So it was like I really, really
did you
enjoyed
tell
him.
him that?
I didn't tell him that part. I didn't tell, but I mean,
Oh,
I did tell him about my children, but I didn't tell him about that. But I did. I really did enjoy him.
well, maybe he'll watch or listen to the podcast, and
Hmm.
he'll know that one day. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing how you can my stepmom, she used to love watching my TikTok videos.
Okay.
So I'm a little TikTok famous, as they say. But she would be like, watch the videos, and I would tell her, I say, you could get the app. But I think now she wanted to watch it with me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Hmm.
But she ain't want. She was like, I'll get it, but I want to see it. She wanted to see it on my phone with me next to it,
Yeah.
and she
Yep.
would be cracking up at the videos,
Mhm.
and you find those kind of things precious now. And about a month ago, I noticed that I had called her on FaceTime. I noticed her face was swollen.
Mhm.
I called my nephew and I said, you got to get your grandma some Benadryl. And he went to Rite Aid and got her some Benadryl. But I told her, I said, Deborah Claire, you better not die on me. And she was like, everybody gonna die. And I said, yeah, but no time soon. And we both laughed and
Mhm.
slapped about it. And then a month later, she passed away. So
Oh
you
wow.
just never know. But like I remember somebody saying to me, when you don't have no guilt and somebody dies, it's easier. No, it's not. I know that me and Deborah Claire had a wonderful relationship and she adored me. And when the
Mhm.
time we got off the phone, I didn't tell her I loved her and vice versa. And it ain't no different if you had a horrible relationship with somebody
Right.
and they die. And people don't understand it. They think, well, they have that guilt and shame. You're gonna have that regardless. You know,
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
think to myself, I look at it like a month ago, she could have died because she had an allergic reaction, and I
Mhm.
gave that Benadryl. So I looked at it like we had her for another month
Right. Yeah.
instead of a bad but it's just the way you look at it, and you got to
Mhm.
keep positive people around you.
Yep.
um
You do.
yeah,
You
you
do.
got to
Because
keep positive because yeah.
it's like any type of negativity, I can't take it. I'm like, go over there. And I've always been like that, but it's like it's even more magnified now. So as soon as you form your lips and I'm like, oh, I don't want no parts. Like, don't talk to me. Don't be around me. I just be by myself. Like, I don't want none of that. Because I'm
Yeah,
like, I try to be positive. So I'm like, I don't want no negativity around me.
even gossiping, it just grieves my spirit.
Yeah, I don't allow nobody to gossip to me. You know, if you even phone, I'd be like, I don't know about that. I'm not even talking about that. So
Yeah.
I'm like, that ain't got nothing to do with me. I just cut you off because I'm like, I'm not getting in that.
And you know what? I ain't never thought about that, Faith, but you're right. We don't really get down like that. That's probably why, you know,
Mhm.
we cool because we ain't never really had nobody we really talked about, and we don't gossip about people, not even celebrities.
Mm-mm. Because I mean, even with the celebrities, I just be like, we on the outside looking in. We don't know what they going through. So,
Yep. Yep, that's true. That is so true. So, I mean, I just think that over time with anything, just
mhm.
like a physical wound, it's just kind of like a, mental wound. It takes
Yeah.
time to heal. You got to
It-
treat it properly. If you don't treat it properly, it ain't gonna never heal, and you're gonna die from sepsis and
Right.
infection. So,
Yeah. So,
you
and we need to normalize the mental health talking period in your family about your feelings, what's going on, things like that. That's one thing I did with my children. I had to learn how to do that because I didn't get that growing up, and it's so important because we need to know what's going on and really pay attention and focus to see what's going on mentally. To see if they're a little off, or if they're being bullied, or if their self-esteem is so low, or if they're missing the other parent that's not there. So these are things that are so important that we gotta be able to help our children. Or if you got a nephew or niece, or if you're taking care of somebody, or if you're an extended caretaker, these things are so important.
That's important. They got a new movie about the Crumbly case, with the Oxford school shooting.
Okay, I haven't kept up.
Yeah, you know
I know what you're talking about, but I didn't know that it
yeah.
happened.
And I
Okay.
watched it, and it was just to talk
Hmm.
about a little bit about grief and stuff that they were talking about. Um, the parents were being charged because the son had a gun and he used that gun in the shooting and everything. And I'm so glad that they explained what happened, because a lot of people, we watching the news, they don't show a lot. So it was a
Hmm.
movie made about it. Well, they said that this boy had asked for the gun.
Right, that's what I heard.
Yeah, he asked for the gun, they gave it to him, bought it for him, he bragged about it on social media. But the thing is, the day of the shooting, they never mentioned, or the gun was in their bed. The case was on their bed. The room was, they were talking about how the house was in a disarray. Now, we can have some stuff disorganized. That's different. But
Hmm.
it was chaos in this house when they came through. And they were
Hmm.
saying, like, basically, and after that show, Faith, I really felt bad for that child, because it seemed like he was asking for help. He was asking for them to help him. He had drew a picture of what he wanted to do and everything. And nobody was listening. They even came up to the school that day
Hmm.
and met with the principal and everything. And they said they was going. They said you. He said they said you want to take him home so you could talk to him, because we think you need to talk to him. And they said no, we gonna just leave him here. And they didn't
Hmm.
check his bag, but that was what was there. But I just felt like those parents failed that child, you know,
Hmm.
because nobody. And not to say that he's not accountable, because even in the Bible it said at 12 years old you are accountable. But, I just feel
But,
like, that
yeah,
kid was crying out.
yeah,
He was
they
crying out.
weren't. A lot of time, I don't want to say they weren't, but sometimes you're used to how a child is acting. And then another thing, it could be, I know something's wrong with my child, but I'm scared if I get him help, because you don't want him labeled, but I know he needs help, but I don't know how to get him help. So I'm not making excuses because I don't know. It could have been multiple things. And maybe something's wrong with them as well. Maybe they have some problems. So
Yeah,
I
they
don't
did.
know. So it could be
It was
so
a
many
whole bunch of
different.
stuff that came out, but it's just sad because and that's what I'm saying. Sometimes that stuff transfers into the children. But
Mhm.
because it was a tragedy, and I just I felt like even the parents felt like that, like,
Yeah,
it felt
but
like
I
they
mean,
got justice for
even the school too. I mean, it's them too. They should have just sent him home. You know,
Virginia.
let me retract a little bit. They should have called, like, I
The
don't know what
social
their
worker
process is. So
social
social
worker.
workers, so they can get some type of mental evaluation. That's where they should have started instead of, because I mean, you can take them home. Then what? Because they're not doctors. No, none of them are doctors. So I mean, get them help, especially if they say, he drew these
That's what
pictures.
the officer said. He's like, "Well, I guess they gave him some resources like, you're gonna have to make an appointment." But that's really pretty much all the school can
No,
do. You don't know
yeah,
that somebody gon' 'cause
yeah.
it's
But if
not
they're
up to the
drawing
school.
pictures, I think they need to now. And it's unfortunate that people lost their lives, but when something's that detrimental or is out there like that, you draw on pictures, they need to do something that day. Because evidently he was having some type of
No, they
episode.
found them pictures after he committed the crime.
Oh, after. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought they found
Mhm.
him before. Okay.
But he was doing other stuff before to show maybe he was drawing other pictures, they found him in the house or something, but,
Yeah,
you
I'm
know,
sure it had to be something. They seen something that they probably just was like, he gonna be okay.
yeah, it's just, I just feel so bad because I know that it doesn't matter, and I say that to like even your situation. It don't matter if you know the person that did this to your loved one or you didn't. It still hurt, you know.
Yep.
It don't matter. Like I said, that day you lost your children and you lost a husband.
And that's one thing my psychiatrist said to me. That was it in the first 6 months when she said that to me, and I was like, oh wow, I never thought about it like that. Because I was
Because
like, I
now
want
you're
to take it.
single. Yeah.
Yep. And it is um like at first I didn't want to come to grips with that because it was like a misconstrued type thing, because when you have a relationship with someone and then they do something heinous, it's not that you don't want to stay with them, but it's just you're going through so many things because you did this to me, you did this to the kids, now you did this to yourself, and you did this to your family, your friends. It's so many things going on.
Does he have any support, do you know, from his family?
I don't know. I have no clue. I don't ask about them. I'm sorry.
Right.
I'm sorry. I've been trying to get this fly. So I don't ask about him. I have a no contact order. I don't want to know anything about him. But I mean,
Yeah.
but I don't know.
Yeah.
I
That's
just know I just feel some kind of way because I still got to pay taxes to help keep him alive. So, and I don't like
Yeah,
that.
ain't that crazy? And I was just looking at that video the other day when he was like, I knew I ain't know what, I knew I was gonna do something, I just didn't know what, or something like that.
Yeah. Hmm.
And I just get so angry every time I see that. Like you knew that you was gonna do something. What
Right.
what was the options? I mean,
See, the thing is, if he wasn't possessed or whatever was going on in his brain, you could have still been seeing your children. But the thing is, he wanted us to stay together as a family because he even said to me, if we get divorced, let's just live here in this house. And I'm like, I'm not living in this house with you. Because the thing is, you're terrorizing everybody in the house. In my head, I'm like, everybody in this house is going to need counseling when we leave here. So we can't stay here and get counseling. I can't be trying to sneak and get counseling. You can't get help in mess. It's just not possible. I was like,
right,
I can't do it. I was like,
right.
you moved me back one time. I was like, this is it. Can't do it.
Yeah. Yeah, you try to hypothetical it and you try to, I don't know if that's a protective mechanism too,
Mhm.
to hypothetical, when we just try to think of what else could have happened. I know it's a mess,
Yeah.
But I'm just my hopes and prayers is that if somebody is going through trauma, that there's a beautiful program. Just I talk about it all the time. It's called Grief Share, and it's at many churches. You can just go to like griefshare.org,
Mhm.
I believe, and they have different churches that have the Grief Share program. Now that is a Christian-based program, but if you're grieving and you need something for free, it's an excellent program. You can put
Mhm.
in your zip code and they'll tell you where, the next meeting is. They usually have group meetings weekly.
Mhm.
And it's really, really, beautiful. It's a 13-week program. So you get to talk with others that are grieving, and then
Mhm.
you can share. And as you share, that helps others. So that's just a resource for you guys if you
And I
are
and I would say
grieving.
don't be scared because I went to a couple of groups like that before, and I think it would be beneficial to talk with other people that have been through similar things like you versus someone who hasn't and they're trying to understand or they may not understand what you're going through.
Right. That's true. So, yeah, sharing is caring, I'm telling you, because
Mhm.
when you share your story, you don't realize how it can help someone else. Like it's been people that reached out, on the YouTube and TikTok videos that we share, and
Mhm.
they send prayers of support, and they say, wow, it's amazing. They also see your strength, and they're like, it's amazing that she can talk about this, and it was tragic. And thing is, like I talk about the 911 thing, a lot of people died in 911, but there's a lot of people that were born because of 911, you
Right.
know.
Right.
And so you got to kind of look at it that way too. A lot of people,
Mhm.
I remember one kid was like, my parents wouldn't have been got together if it wasn't for 9/11. It was a,
Mhm.
paramedic and a firefighter. And
Okay.
they met during that, and had a child, and the child was saying if 9/11 wouldn't have happened, then my parents wouldn't have met and started dating and
Right.
had me. So, and I was just crying, because I'm like, wow, this is just beautiful that something
Yeah.
can come from such a tragedy. Because I know
Mhm.
everybody remember what they was doing then. So, but yeah, so, is there any other treatment? I mean, I know you ain't had nothing severe like shock treatments or nothing. I don't even
Oh
think they
no.
do stuff
Oh
like
Lord,
that
I'd
no
probably be
more.
like, come out
So,
crazy.
the best treatment,
No,
like counseling and yeah,
I think the counseling group sessions, I think those are good. And don't be afraid. At first you might feel a little reluctant, but I think all these things really, really help. Maybe sometimes like when things first happen, you may not want to go to it. Give yourself a little time, but at some point you're gonna need one of these resources. It would definitely help.
and I'm telling you, it doesn't matter if you're a religious person or not. Sometimes you start with the church because they do have resources.
Mm.
And if you are on a fixed income, if you have the funds and you can pay for private counseling, by all means, whatever, in your budget. But sometimes our tragedies don't line up with our budget, and that's
Right.
okay.
Yep, I've been
So,
through that too. So
yeah,
other thing
yeah,
is they have Easter seals
yeah,
for different counties, Oakland County, Wayne County, there probably other
yeah,
counties too. So those are good services too.
yeah, yeah. I got your first step for domestic
The first
violence
step.
or any kind of assault, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sexual assault, anything. So you can go there, and they have advocates that can talk with you. They have resources available as
Hmm.
well.
And then they
There's a
have the
lot of
toll.
things out there, huh?
Yeah, and then they have the toll-free number. So if you're not ready to do anything, there's always somebody available to speak with.
Yeah, yeah. So it's a lot of stuff out there. I'm gonna try to get some things when I do this video to have some
And then like have a
resources.
list at the end they can view. Okay,
Yeah.
that'd be great.
So we'll do that. to get you some help, because I don't like when people tell me what to do
Oh,
and they don't have any
I do have
resources.
some resources on my website. It's for my children, my faith dot com. I had to think about it. I do have resources on there. It's
Now,
a
what is it
website
again, so I can make sure I type it right when I do
for
the
my for my children, my faith.com.
okay. The
So I do have
FOR for my children.
the
Okay.
number four, the number
The
four.
number 4. Okay.
Yes. Yep. So, and then I know I'm going to have to update and put some more things on there too.
Okay.
So there are resources on there.
So we'll try to get you guys some resources, but I know for me, I like, okay, next week I'm going to a silent retreat, and this is my 3rd year. I don't know if I told you this, babe, did I?
Yeah, you told me about
Oh,
it.
I did. Okay.
Mhm.
So it's my 3rd year, and I go for 3 days. And I tell you, when you can really hear God's voice when you ain't talking. That's all I got to say. Sometimes we cover up what he's telling us because we talking. And I'm a talker. So for me to be silent for 3 days, I
Mhm.
really, really have a breakthrough, and God really like takes over. And so I'm pressing for a lot of things, even you, Faith. I'm telling you, I got my list. Every
Mm.
year before I go, I start making a list for the next year. So
Okay.
all year from the last one, I've been making a list of people that I want to pray for, because I got 3 days to pray. That's what I do all the time. We stay there all night. We have a room, and they have different services, different things for you to listen to. The
Mhm.
first year was about art history, and Christ and different artifacts, and it was
Okay.
beautiful. And so I'm not sure what they're going to talk about this year, but just know, if you also want me to put you on the prayer list, and there's something that you're pressing God for, I got 3 days. I got a lot to pray for. So you guys, it can sure be included in that. And I would love to have that with you. And the first day is the 21st. So you get it to me before then, and I'll just jot you down. I take my book with me. I don't have my phone. And you know what? It's really liberating. That's what I wanted to tell you, Faith.
Mhm.
To not have your phone for 3 days, believe it or not, is a blessing, because I don't have no distractions.
Mhm.
I tell my husband where I am, so he knows, and the kids, they know where I'm at. If it's an emergency, they know where I come get me. It ain't too far. But
Mhm.
it's a blessing to just be off the grid for a minute. I
Yeah.
don't watch no social. I do check my phone at night before I go to bed to make sure it wasn't any emergencies. But other than that, I'm there the whole weekend, and I got an agenda to pray for everybody in
Right.
my. So that's what I'm doing.
Okay.
And people have different ways that they grieve and cope with things. So people just have to figure out their own way. Some people, I like arts and crafts.
Mhm.
I like to do brows and stuff like that. You might have your thing that you enjoy, but as long as you got something that can kind of occupy your time, I would
Mhm.
say that's really important when you.
Yep, I agree. I agree.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we did good. How much time? How much time?
Oh, 7:07.
7:07.
Okay.
Okay, good. So we
Okay.
got an hour in there. So I'm gonna
Yeah,
get everything together
okay.
for you guys. We're gonna try to get you some resources. Don't forget Faith's website. We're gonna put that on the screen too, and she's gonna add some more resources on there. Inboxes too. I mean, if there's anything that you want to know, we can look for that specifically for you and try to be
Mhm.
an advocate. We just want to help in any way that we can.
Yep.
We're also looking for sponsors, people to help us, with the podcast. Like I said, we love anybody with their expertise. If you,
Mhm.
you know, um, are going to school for that, and you want to do podcasts or be a producer, we would love you to practice with us.
Right. We need
Give us
some
a
help.
little stepping out, keeping the faith intro video. That's what we need, something, kind of lift us up. No, we don't want nothing sad, because we're overcoming our sadness, getting
Right.
over
Exactly.
grief. So, we want to really show what we got. So thank you so much for joining us. God
Thank
bless
you,
you.
everyone. Have a
Yes.
great night.
It's been fun talking about this in a strange
Yes.
way, but it's been fun delivering good information about
Yes.
grief. So God bless you guys, and we'll see you next time on Keeping the Faith.
Thank you.